Hello and welcome to Empath This. On this episode, I am going to be talking about a question that somebody posed to me, and the question is, if empaths are so capable of helping others and tuning into the emotional blocks of others and are so capable of helping others to evolve past their own self-defeating behaviors, why can't empaths do that for themselves? And so I put a lot of thought into this. And what I've come up with, and this is a very common theme in the sensitive community, is that empaths, because they are actually so capable of helping others, because they are so in tune with others, and because they are so emotionally intelligent, they oftentimes forget that they're still human. And because you are still human, you still do have an ego. You still do have a sense of self that wants to be validated and wants to be honored. And if you don't become self-assertive, if you don't become aware of yourself, and you don't become capable of identifying who you are as unique and individualized from somebody else, your ego becomes very entitled, and your ego begins to say, hey, why does that person have things that I don't? And starts separating you in a very defensive and in a very self-centered way, as opposed to a very self-focused way and a very self-aware way. So what's the point of this? The point of this is that as an empath, even though you are profoundly connected and interconnected to everybody else, and you are profoundly emotionally intelligent, and you are able to tap into the energy fields of others, and you are able to read others very well, you are capable of helping others to evolve and helping human beings to evolve. This doesn't mean that you get to skip the struggle of being human yourself. So because you're so tuned into others, because you're so focused outside of yourself, you oftentimes lose your own sense of identity. You lose your own sense of self. And what happens there? As I just discussed 2 seconds ago, all of a sudden your very human ego is saying, wait a minute, I understand who everybody else is, but who am I? I don't have a sense of self. And so that twisted sense of self, that misaligned sense of self starts to get very egocentric. Okay, so what do we tap into? What do we become very self-centered on all of a sudden? We start feeling really bad for ourselves, because why does everybody else get help that I can't provide myself? Why does everybody else get help that I don't have? Okay, the narcissistic, I hate to use that word, but the narcissistic aspects of you become inflated. Okay, that sense of self that's actually avoidant becomes exacerbated, and suddenly your human ego says, hey, wait a minute, I help everybody else, but nobody helps me. Wait a minute, why can't I even help my own self? Why am I so capable? You know, and you wind up feeling very victimized by your own gifts. Wait a minute, and I can help everybody else, but nobody helps me, and I can't help myself. Which is not true, by the way. You're perfectly capable of helping yourself. Most just don't, because they don't have the sense of identity to say, hey, wait a minute, I need to stop helping others for a minute until I can align with myself, the sense of self, and I can align with my own identity with myself, and I can clearly define and assert myself in a healthy way to differentiate myself from others. So as an empath, it's really important for you to understand that even though you are an empath, you are still very, very, very human. And the reason why everybody's here is to experience being human. And part of that human experience is to understand that you can't skip the struggle. You can't skip the learning experience. Even as an empath that's here to help others, to serve others, you're still not entitled to skip the struggle that everybody else on this earth has to go through to understand themselves, to learn to love themselves, to learn to validate and nurture and be compassionate towards themselves. Just because you're incredibly gifted to help others doesn't mean that you're entitled to skip the struggle that you are working to help others learn how to work through, learn how to trust. So why can't empaths get their shit together? Well, quite honestly, most of the time, it's because they are actually in a very human ego state where they're experiencing an incredible loss of their sense of self. They don't have an ability to assert their sense of self. And so they're feeling very victimized within themselves. And they stay in that low vibrational state until they come to reconcile this and say, wait a minute, yes, I can use my gifts to help myself. I just have to get over myself and realize that I'm no different than anybody else. And I'm not entitled to skip the struggle of being human. I'm not entitled to skip the struggle of learning to navigate my own emotions and navigate my behaviors and introspect and self-evolve and work hard to become the best version of myself. So I know that's a hard thing to swallow, but it's very true. And once, as an empath, as a sensitive, you come to understand, wait a minute, I do have a sense of self within me, but I have to find it. And I have to really embrace it, because there's more to me than just my ability to help others. There's more to me than my ability to advance others in their state of self. I can advance my sense of self. I can evolve my self-awareness. I could become the best version of myself as well. I have help. I am my own help. And I'm also allowed to seek help from others. This all goes to self-assertiveness, which is one of the biggest struggles for sensitives and empaths, is to learn to identify their own sense of self and to realize that even though they are profoundly interconnected with others, it does not mean that they don't have the ability to identify themselves as separate from others in a healthy way, in a way that aligns with their integrity, and in a way that will help them to evolve and to really come to discover themselves. And then once you have identified that sense of self, being able to assert yourself and navigate who you are, and utilize it in your physical world to help you to serve your highest calling and your highest purpose. So to wrap it all up and come full circle, again, the reason why empaths struggle to get their shit together is truly because they are trying to skip the struggle instead of trying to learn how to trust the struggle to lead you and to guide you to discovering yourself and to healing yourself and to evolving yourself. So same thing that you're trying to teach everybody else, you are unfortunately not entitled to skip that struggle as a human being, because it's part of understanding and learning humility. You cannot understand the human experience. You can't understand and be compassionate towards others if you have not experienced or are not willing to experience the same suffering that others are. And I don't mean suffering as in actual physical harm to yourself. I'm talking about the suffering as in the struggle to take action steps forward day to day in order to expand yourself and to evolve yourself and to further yourself. So I hope this was helpful, and comment. I will get back to you. Add other questions for other empaths perspectives. I am looking forward to expanding this project and helping everybody to evolve. Bye.